There's no better feeling than a personal win, and the State Farm Personal Price Plan can help you do just that. Talk to a State Farm agent today to learn how you can bundle and save with the Personal Price Plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state. This episode is brought to you by Amazon. The holidays are here, and you know what that means? It's time to get your friends and family the gifts they deserve. Take the stress out of shopping with Amazon's great deals and low prices on a huge range of items from toys to tech and much more. Whoever you're gifting for, Amazon has great prices on everything you need this holiday season. Shop early holiday deals now.
All right.
2 weeks in a row for me.
It is 2 weeks in a row for you. Welcome back to the pod, Lex.
Its helmet needed to be
I have these little foam covers on the mics.
They look like helmets.
It does look like a little helmet, yeah.
Do you ever like talk into this mic and feel like you're like a comedian on a reel snippet?
Not really, because I think of myself
I guess
as
this
a
is your
podcaster.
job, so.
Yeah.
All right, well,
Do you
I feel like a comedian.
Well, you kind of are a comedian. So, kind of more of a clown, though, to be honest.
You're not a well-known clown.
Oh, what's that from?
It was like the...
When you say, like, who is this clown?
Yeah,
you're dissing them twice because you're calling them a clown, and then you're calling them a not even well-known clown.
yeah, that's what it was. It was funny. All right.
Well, for those of you who don't know, Lexie is the other voice on the mic today. Lexie is my little sister. And real quick, I just wanted to shout out Marley, our older sister, because today we're doing an advice column submission, or we're answering your advice questions, and it's a Google form. And I was going through the Google form. I didn't tell you the story yet. I was going through the Google form to pull questions of what we're going to talk about today. And I was just clicking through, and I have it on like the individual setting. Mm-hmm. So I was just looking at like the second box down, which says question, because I have like a box to put your name or like whatever you want me to call you, and then the question, and then like anything additional that you want to say. So I was just looking at this middle box of submissions, and I came across this one.
Also, side note, we love Marley dearly, and we're just as close with Marley as we are with each other. Yeah. She just lives in a different state.
Yeah. And so the
she's like a secret to some people.
She is
like she's not supposed to be.
And she's married and has a dog, and so she has a different last name on Instagram. So like if we tag her, then people are like, who is this other person?
Yeah. True.
So anyway, but where it says describe your situation / circumstances in detail, this box says, my sisters keep making a podcast without me. What do I do? And I read it and I thought, oh my gosh, that's so sad. They're excluding you. And then I jumped up to the your name box that says Marmar. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I called her. She's like, I'm just messing with you.
That's hilarious.
But I do want to have her on the pod. And then I invited her to come to New York with me to record in a couple of weeks. And
would she come to Nashville with you next week?
No, she can't. Well, she doesn't have any leave. So she's like, we've worked out the rest of the year.
Oh, yeah, because they're traveling.
Yeah. Well, and they're both in the Navy.
Home,
so
like for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we could totally pod together. That'd be really fun. Anyway, it was just hilarious. So shout out Marley. We love you. We miss you.
Keep making a podcast. That's hilarious.
And she's like, I felt really bad. I like sent her all these like crying face emojis. And she's like, it's not that deep. I was just messing with you. And so anyway, I thought that was funny.
Did you ever get pictures of her Halloween costume?
No.
She didn't send me any final products.
She didn't send me any. So we'll see. She was something funny for Halloween. But okay, out of the corner of my eye, that plant
it moves. It looks like an animal.
It looks like a cat. I thought there was a cat on the balcony.
Like jumping.
That's hilarious. All right. Well, this intro's been all over the place. But how are you doing, Lex? How's life?
I'm good. I'm sleepy today.
I'm super sleepy. I kind of feel like I got hit like in the face. Like, do you ever feel so tired that like underneath your eyes feels like you got punched? I didn't get punched, but I just kind of feel like.
No, I can't relate to that feeling.
Okay. I need to like hit it with an ice roller.
My eyes just don't stay awake. I mean, open.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I was sitting here on the couch and I was watching Friends. and I went to skip intro and I just completely turned the TV off. And then it took me a couple minutes to realize that, because I was also distracted. I was like kind of on my computer and my phone and stuff. And it took me probably like 5 minutes to realize that I turned the TV off instead of skipping intro.
Oh.
I was like, wow, I'm that tired that I don't even know like what's happening around me. One of those days.
That's like coffee cup underneath the thing.
Yeah, and I've been doing that all the time.
Yeah.
Been making my coffee in the Nespresso, forgetting to put the mug in. And I think that is just a telltale sign of how sleepy and how much I just need to rest.
You know, I had a thought that maybe you need to just like pick your favorite mug and just have it live underneath the Nespresso.
Yeah.
So that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Because it's happened like 3 times in the past month.
And it's just such an annoying thing.
It is. Because you're like, dang it.
And then it's kind of a waste too of like your coffee pod.
Yeah.
And then the whole cleanup thing. And you haven't even had your coffee yet. So you're not like, you're really annoyed to clean, you know?
Yeah.
That early. So maybe like that strawberry one needs to just like live underneath.
Yeah.
Or maybe at night if you remember.
Sometimes like if I know I have an early morning, I'll put my coffee pod next to it, like the one that I'm going to use. And then I'll put a mug under. Like I have done that in the past, but I think I need to get back into that routine because I don't know where I'm not thinking.
All the way down the cabinet
into the silverware drawer,
streaming into the in the middle of the kitchen.
Yeah. So, and the funny part too is like when I did it on Saturday, Marley was the one who caught it. I completely would have just like, because I usually make the coffee and then I go do something else.
Yeah.
Like I let it brew while I'm making my bed or emptying the dishwasher or something. And Marley looks over, she goes, Lily. She's like, you forgot to put a coffee cup on her. I'm like, oh no. So I just stood there and held
a glass,
a mug, because the glass would probably break. But I just held a mug there, like over top of it while she like cleaned up, and we just like let it brew all the way through. It was so sad. I at least like got to save a little bit of coffee, but dang, I keep doing that. But I think I'm just so exhausted.
Yeah. And
I'm getting like I told you this, but I have a stress cold sore inside my mouth.
Yeah, that's bad.
And I never got those until I think I started getting them about a year ago. And they're occasional, but I know like I haven't been able to sleep. Like my heartbeat's been like wild. So I just know I'm so stressed out. And this is just a stress related thing. So just so weird
and crazy how our body reacts like that.
I know. Yeah. Like a physical reaction to just the mental like wheel of craziness
like
that I have going on.
All the imbalances that are happening inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least our Christmas tree is up though.
Yeah, the Christmas tree's up. It looks really
pretty. We need
pretty.
to kind of spruce it. There's so many holes. I tried to, but then I stopped because it hurt to like stand up on my foot. But we gotta separate some of the branches and then decorate it, put all the stuff on.
Once we put the ornaments on, I think like some of those spaces will kind of...
Yeah, that hole in the front is just genuinely just a hole.
Could we spin it? Like it's a fake tree, by the way.
Well, yeah, we could spin it, but then the cord would be like to the front.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the problem.
All right, well, we'll just spruce it up.
But we can put like a massive ornament there.
Yeah, I have a few in mind.
Anyway.
But yeah, we did put up the tree about 2-3 days ago. October, yeah. But I have this thing against fall that we kind of talked about, and I've accepted it now. However, I think that putting the tree up has made the transition easier.
Just to fall?
Oh yeah, just to skip right to Christmas.
Yeah, I was gonna say we didn't do fall. I honestly, I always want to try to appreciate fall because it's pretty.
It is so pretty.
But like, fall outfits don't get along with me because I don't look cute in skirts, and it's too cold for that. But then it's like I don't know. I just
it's not
fall just bothers me because it's like so overrated. I feel like
I think it's not necessarily the outfits for me, but because it doesn't really matter the season. But I'm gonna be like, oh, I have nothing to wear.
Well, I just hate like the in between weather.
Yeah, that is like when you have your AC on during the day and then you have to have your heat on at night, kind of thing. Yeah, I will say getting dressed this morning was difficult, but what can you do? I'm in my jammies now, so that's all that matters.
It's like, oh, is this too wintry or too summery? Like,
Yeah.
And I don't think I look good in browns, and that's like the fall color, so it's just annoying. Also, I don't like Halloween. I think it's lame. And I don't like scary movies, and I don't know, I can eat candy whenever I want, so I really don't care.
I eat candy 365 days a year.
I honestly like Christmas candy the best because I like the peppermint stuff. But
yeah, all good points.
Anyway.
Hey, how's the yank? How's the ankle doing?
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's definitely better, but I feel like if I'm going like long distances, I still need that boot.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to try to ditch it, but
like just pack it in. Are you going to check a bag?
Well, so yes, probably, because I'm flying Southwest, so like why not? And I'm going to be there.
Lexi's going to Texas next week.
Yeah, and I'm going to be there a week, so I'm going to need more stuff than I typically bring. But I wouldn't want to put it in my suitcase and take up all that. I would just wear it because that's so much space where I could just throw a shoe in.
Would like TSA give you a hard time though, do you think?
So I talked to about it, and he was like, no, you just say that you're like disabled. Not like disabled, but
injured.
Like obviously you're injured, so you're at a disadvantage, and they just pretty much wave you through.
That's nice.
And like, obviously if they want to check my boot, they can
take it off. Just stand there on one foot.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'll figure it out. I don't know what to do, but I don't want to put it in my bag because that's going to take up so much space and be super heavy when I could just wear it. Plus the airport walk is going to be heavy, or not heavy. It's going to be long. So unless I get a golf cart ride, which I might do.
I'm sure you could flag someone down.
Yeah, I might. I don't know if I have to pre-schedule it or what, but I definitely feel like I want to try to do it. For Houston, because the airport's huge and I had to change terminals. Like I most likely.
Do they have a tram or anything?
Oh, they do. Yeah, okay. Yeah. You don't walk to it, but it's a long walk from the gate to the tram, plus up a bunch of steps. There's an escalator, but then I don't really. I have like 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
You have 30. Do you know you have 30 minutes? But if I like kind of milked it a little bit and asked for like escort, they would hold the plane because they know I'm coming.
Yeah, that's
Whereas
true.
if I was just an average Joe on foot, they'd be like, sorry, you didn't move quick enough.
Although I feel like you move pretty quick.
I do. But I don't want to stumble in like a lot.
True.
So I don't know. But I think I could just probably talk to the gate agent.
Yeah.
Or the person that when I go check my bag.
Yeah.
Like there's so many people there. I could figure it out. Anyway, let's get to the topic at hand. Literally.
Okay. So the topic at hand today is the advice column. And I feel like I used to do these a lot more often, but I want to bring them back because they're fun. But in order to bring them back, it requires some audience participation. So if you guys want to submit a question to the advice column, all you have to do is click the link in the show notes. It's in the show notes of every episode, so not just this one, but all of them. And it just says submit to the advice column. And this is pretty much just an opportunity for you to describe your situation, whatever's going on. The more detail, the better, because then we can kind of get a full picture and offer you the best and offer you the best advice possible. And that's pretty much it. So you just fill out the form. And I can offer you feedback and advice, and anything goes on the show. So feel free to ask whatever you want, whatever's on your mind or on your heart. And we will do our best to lead you in the best direction. Obviously, we're not perfect. So I have Lex on the mic today, and we are going to answer a couple questions. So the first one is from A. She just left in her first initial A. And A says, I'm living in a house with some other girls. We used to be best friends, but now we don't talk. I've lived with them for the past 2 years now. And the first year we lived together with a total of 9 people, and it was a disaster. Okay, 9 people off the bat.
I wonder how big the house was. Like, I wonder if they had their space or it was like everyone was like bunking together
on top of each other. Yeah, I don't know. So 9 people, and it was a disaster. These girls didn't really like this other girl, and they would pick on anything and everything that she did and put it in the group chat. Whew, okay. For example, they left a dirty dish in the sink because they didn't have time to clean it before class. I guess this is the one friend. Didn't have time to clean the dirty dish. They'd send a picture and tell her to clean it up. Note, all the messages were super passive aggressive, flat out rude. They were super rude to one of my friends. We'll call her friend A. That's going to get confusing.
Say friend B then.
Friend one.
Oh, friend one.
Friend one. Okay. They were really rude to friend one and would constantly talk badly about her to the point where she moved out. Unfortunately, I had already signed a lease with them for the following year. They started uninviting me and ignoring me. I think that it's because I'm still close with friend one. I brought it up to them and asked them what was going on. They told me that because I lived in the basement and they all lived upstairs, they would make other plans without me, and that it just wasn't intentional because I was in the basement and they never passed by my room.
Fake.
Yeah, that sounds very mean girlish.
That's a fake answer.
Yeah. That whole year, they stepped foot in my room maybe 5 times. So basically, they said they had no issues, that it's just how my room is out of the way. Fast forward to the new house. I guess this is where they live now. Fast forward to the new house and everything was a fresh start, but I still felt the sense of them disliking me. They wouldn't come to my room. It was upstairs now, and they wouldn't invite me to go out with them unless I asked. I felt like my presence wasn't valued. I tried to talk to them about it, but things stayed the same. So I decided to strengthen other friendships in my life, but remained talking and friendly with them. Recently, a concert passed and they went without me. Back in February or March, we all agreed to go together. The tickets were $200. I was taking an online course throughout the summer because I needed the extra credits. The exam fell on the day of the concert, but the exam was in person. A month before I told them about the exam, they brushed it off. 2 weeks before I mentioned it and asked if they had other plans so I could organize what was happening. They told me that my exam was late, but we'd figure it out. A week later, they told me that they were leaving in the morning, but my exam ended in the afternoon. So I asked them if they could wait for me, and everybody said no. I told them that I couldn't skip my exam. And then they told me to take the bus, which the bus ride was 9 hours. So I couldn't go to the concert because it just wasn't realistic. It was so hurtful that they just leave me out. I was actually devastated because now I'm living in the house and I feel like I'm in a constant state of anxiety and I feel very depressed. I've tried to express my feelings towards them individually or as a group time and time again, but they seem not to care. I feel like a broken record. I have to live here for at least 10 more months, but I'm so anxious I can barely get out of bed. Now they're doing what they did to friend one to me. My question is, what do you think I should do? Should I talk to them? I'm lost. I don't even know what questions to ask.
I would say find somebody else who needs to live there and like replace your name on the lease so you don't break a lease. You just like switch out of it.
Yeah, like sublease your room.
But that would literally be like such a terrible thing to do, to be like, here, come live with all these people who are really mean.
Yeah.
Unless that person was like totally cool with like not being their friend and was just like a
just
place
needed
to
a
sleep.
room to live.
Yeah.
Dang. I feel like this is such a tough situation because I would imagine
like you're actually trapped because it's like the lease. I would try to break it, but breaking a lease is just so expensive.
This episode is brought to you by Opill, the first over-the-counter daily birth control pill available in the U.S. Opill is FDA-approved, full prescription strength, and estrogen-free. Plus, there's no prescription needed. Finally, the days of needing a prescription for birth control are over. Opill is available online and at most major retailers. Take control of your health and reproductive journey with Opill. Birth control in your control. Use code BIRTHCONTROL for 25% off your first month of Opill at Opill.com.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
When you zoom out, the easiest answer is just to be like, oh, get out. But then when you think about the logistics of like, oh, you signed a lease and you can't break it unless you find someone to replace you.
Right.
That's logistically
because
challenging.
then it's like, then all of a sudden, all those other girls, their rent is going to go up if she's gone and nobody comes and fills the space.
Yeah.
So not only is it expensive for you to get out of the lease, but it's also expensive for the other girls. And then they're already mean girling you, so they're just going to continue to. But it doesn't sound like you want to be friends with them anyway, so it doesn't like truly matter. But also, like, I feel like any good person, which sounds like A is a good person, then like she probably wouldn't want to like put that on them.
Yeah. It's such a tough situation because obviously you need to live there. Like I would imagine you're in school. And so you need a place to live near campus, but you also, it's not just a room that you live in. Like you want to be able to use the kitchen and not feel like people don't want you there. And I feel like, I mean, I've had interesting roommate situations and I've had it be awkward before, and it's super weird when you can't openly communicate with the people that you live with because things are awkward. So I would say first off, did you guys sign any sort of like roommate contract? Like before you guys all moved in, did you come up with any sort of agreement? This is something that my dad has always recommended that we do living with whoever we're living with, whether it's one person or 5 people. He's always said, make sure that you come up with an agreement that contains the expectations that you have of each other as far as like maintaining the house, but also the expectations that you have of each other if something like this were to arise. Because ultimately, like you can it's a lot better to agree upon how you might manage conflict when you're not in the conflict. And when the conflict arises, you're not necessarily going to be able to uphold those standards all the time. But if you kind of have on paper some sort of template of, hey, when we have an issue, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. This is how we're going to mediate it. And if we can't mediate it, we'll take it up to whatever the next level is.
Yeah.
So I would say if you guys have any sort of roommate agreement, start with that. But ultimately, like, you don't really put bullying in a roommate agreement because you don't think of that. But it just sounds to me like these girls are being...
Yeah, just bullies.
Just kind of, yeah.
That's like the only word for it.
Yeah.
Not even just mean girls. Just bullies.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe they just like wouldn't wait for you and all drive together to the concert.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just like...
You can take the bus. Like, that's so mean.
Yeah, that's super mean.
Especially when you were like, hey... I have this. Because I'm sure if one of them had an exam, they would have waited.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Especially if you guys spent like $200 on the tickets and like all agreed to go together.
Yeah.
That's weird. Not just weird, but mean. Okay. So I think as far as solutions go, you have a good idea of starting to strengthen your other friendships, which I think is super important. I think if you start pouring into other friendships and just kind of treat your house as a place to live, like you don't have to be best friends with your roommates. It's nice to be able to do things together. It's nice to be able to get along. But if you legally cannot get out of that lease, if you don't have anyone to sublet, if you don't have anywhere else to live, you're kind of put in a tough situation. So I think the best thing to do is start pouring into other friendships.
I don't know. You could just walk around the house with your headphones in.
Yeah.
Like, just be like, this is where I live. So you can't get mad at me for walking in the kitchen and using the kitchen and, you know, walking in common areas. But you don't have to talk to them. You don't have to be their friends. Like, yeah, maybe it feels like kind of weird, but I feel like once you get in the groove of just doing it, you can just let that feeling go and just be like, this is just where I live and these aren't my friends. These are my roommates, and it doesn't.
Yeah, but I also think that's a good point because you don't have to be friends with these girls. Mm-hmm. But I do think that you need to at least have a conversation, just kind of like clear the air to a degree.
Yeah, and like be cordial.
You don't want to walk on eggshells.
No,
in your own home.
No.
And I think, I mean, even you and I living together, we've had times where it's been little things that have built, whether it's been from me or from you or a mix of both. And one day we're just like, we just talk it out, and it's hard, it's awkward, it's, you know, uncomfortable. But if you're feeling uncomfortable because of the way that they're treating you, then it's just going to continue to get more uncomfortable unless you address it.
Yeah.
So you definitely need to be like, hey guys, things have been really weird, and I don't necessarily want to point fingers and be, you know, nitpick. If it's a dirty dish in the sink, sometimes you just run out of the house and you just don't have time to do your dishes. Happens to me, happens to you, happens to everybody. If it's the constant dirty dishes, like,
and like piling up in the sink, that's different.
Yeah. And then that's something that everybody needs to address politely and come up with like a chore chart or something, you know, or just an expectation, and not send it in the group chat like passive aggressively. I don't know. Roommates are really, really tricky. And I think a lot of times, especially with like college roommates, where
Like nobody's like actually mature about like addressing things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone just wants to, it's just drama filled.
If the problem is sent in the group chat, that's so immature.
Yeah.
Like an easy fix could just be like, all right, guys, we're all in the living room. We're all hanging out.
Kind of thing.
Like the dirty dishes are really frustrating me. I don't know if I'm the only one who's bothered by this, but can we fix it? I think every single person who I've ever talked to who has roommates,
it's always about the dishes.
It's literally always about the dishes.
Yeah.
Because people have different standards of cleanliness and different like patterns of living.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to accept that, but also like work around it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know if accept it's the right phrase, but just be able to live with it.
Yeah.
But also create some sort of roommate agreement where you set the expectations.
Yeah. I feel like we haven't really given her advice.
No, we haven't. Okay, so let's try to give her advice.
Because like obviously what we're saying is great, but she clearly can't do that.
Ooh, good point.
You know what I mean? Like through the message, it's very like anxiety filled.
Mm-hmm.
And she even said that she's facing and dealing with that.
Yeah.
So like we got to give her like real advice because I don't know. She's stuck.
Yeah,
and it's uncomfortable.
One of her questions says, do you think I should talk to them?
Yes, you should talk to them.
Absolutely, you should talk to them. And I think that you should just say, I mean, kind of wear your heart on your sleeve and be prepared for them to be like, we don't care.
Yeah, be prepared for them to be mean because they clearly have been mean in the past.
Yeah. But almost just be like, guys, the way that we've been living has really caused me to spiral.
Yeah. And I don't think that like personally, like bring it up, just speak from how you're feeling. Don't speak from what they're doing and don't like list a whole like laundry list of the things that they've done and the occasions and the, you know, the specifics. Like back in February, you guys did this and this and this. It's like, that doesn't matter anymore. Just say like generally, this is how I've been feeling. I'm not trying to point fingers. I just want to like clear the air and just like get it off my chest and like have a cordial conversation. And you know, I'm talking to you because it's important to talk to your roommates about this stuff. They're probably going to be like kind of like defensive and coming in hot. But I would just try to keep your cool the entire time, like not fight back, just continue to talk about how you're feeling, not you make me feel this. Just say, I feel.
Yeah, use those I statements.
I feel this. I feel very anxious living here because it feels like you guys are tighter.
I felt really upset when you guys went to the concert without me. That really hurt my feelings.
Yeah, like I feel like you guys don't want to be my friend. I feel like it's...
And ultimately, I think like if they're as mean as they seem, they might straight up be like, well, we don't want to be your friend. And I think at that point,
Well, then you could be like, okay, well, I have two options here. Yeah. I can continue to stay in this lease. Well, actually 3 options. I can continue to stay in this lease and we can live how we're living, which obviously isn't making any of us happy.
Yeah.
Number 2, I break the lease and I just leave. Number 3, I replace my spot with somebody else, whether I choose the person or you choose the person, or we can work together to choose the person to replace me. But, you know, 1 is staying and being miserable for everybody. And then the last 2 are just you leaving. And, you know, if you leave and don't...
Or stay and work it out. That's a 4th option.
True.
You know, I mean, I think...
But if they straight up say, well, we don't want to be your friend, then what's
you
there
have
to...
the answer.
What's there to work out?
Yeah, there's no point in trying.
I don't think anybody would want to be friends with the people that act like that.
Absolutely not.
So I would, I don't know. I would definitely talk to them and try to work through it.
I think too, like it might be good to have, I mean, I don't know if you all are close with a parent or if, you know, a parent like co-sign on this lease as well, if you're in college, or if you guys have a coach, maybe they're all on the same team. I don't know, just someone there to mediate and help. Because I think navigating roommate, not only is it emotional because people's feelings are hurt and friendships are being frayed, but it's also contractual. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of moving parts. And I think if you were to have someone else who's kind of level-headed and removed from the situation, they could offer a clear path forward based on the conversation.
Yeah.
So I think definitely the conversation's a great place to start and the only place to start. But you have to...
you're going to have to get a little vulnerable.
Yeah. I feel for you, girl. I am so sorry. But I think that a conversation is a good first place to start, and just know that this is
very temporary. Like, 10 months sounds like a really long time, but in the grand scheme of things, it is temporary. But it's just tough.
And it's tough walking on eggshells in your own place.
Mm-hmm.
But remember that you live there too. You pay to be there. You pay to use the common spaces. You pay to use the kitchen. You pay to use the bathroom. So don't let them bully you out of those areas.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're paying probably the same or whatever you guys have worked out to be there. So anyway, keep your head up. You got this, girl. Next question is from Tiffany, unless you have anything else to say.
No.
All right, next question is from Tiffany, and she says, I'm currently digging deeper in my walk with the Lord. I'm kind of a newbie though. What does worship look like for you? What's your routine for quiet time / time in the Word? I know that there's no one size fits all answer, but I'm looking for some inspiration to build my own routine with the Lord.
Good question.
Great question.
I'm glad that you, Tiffany, pointed out that everybody's situations are different and everybody's forms of worship are different. For me, I just find a time during the day, throughout the day. Like, I don't have a set time every single morning or every night or whatever, because most of my days look different. But as long as I do it throughout the day, I'll sit down and read my Bible and journal and all that in the morning. If I'm doing my hair or makeup, or sometimes then I'm taking a shower or something, I put on worship music.
You're good about like it being like 2:00 in the afternoon and you're like, all right, I'm gonna go read my Bible. Like, you're so good about that.
Like, I just do it at least like once. Well, like, that's
just once.
No, I mean, like, I get it done during the day. Not that it's a to-do list item. Like, I'm not trying to say that, but like I do it throughout the day, but it's
you don't want to be rushed through it.
Yeah. And I find a time that works for me. I don't like knock myself when I'm like, dang it, I didn't like wake up and do it, or I'm so tired and I'm about to sleep and like I'm trying to read my Bible, but I'm falling asleep. So I think like I just do it when I can. Yeah. And when I have the time, because I like to get in it and like spend like an hour or maybe even 2. Like, sometimes I've done my Bible studies for like 2 hours. So I like to just have a generous amount of time. So whenever that is in my day, I do it.
Love it. For me, I feel like I've been bad about reading my Bible lately. And I just, because I'm so busy, like we talked about my stress levels at the beginning of this episode, and I just have like way too much on my plate. I know that that's not an excuse, but it's one of those things where I feel like I so miss the times where I would spend 2 hours in my Bible, because I love that and I learned so much. But I'm just like in a space right now where I feel so overwhelmed.
Well,
So
we have a lot of things that have a deadline right now.
I do.
I mean, and your relationship with God has a deadline too, but it, but like, I don't know. It almost feels like the things of the world end up like overpowering, which is such a bummer. But because those things have a deadline, like tomorrow afternoon, I have an exam at like whatever time. It's just like, I don't know. It ends up feeling like,
and those things take priority because you're consumed by it. And obviously that's not a good excuse on paper, but in practice, it's like, we know I do have to study for my exam. And I think since I'm doing school, I'm doing just like a ton of other things. And we talked last week about, job hunting and all this stuff, but I'm doing so many things that require so much brain power that when it comes to reading my Bible, I'm like, I just want to be in God's presence and in his peace. And I feel like right now, even doing a Bible study, I'm like, it just feels overwhelming, which it shouldn't feel overwhelming. Yeah. So I don't know what to do.
Maybe on the Bible app, you need to look for like a daily devotional walkthrough that's like on being in his peace, because they have all the topics.
Yeah, they do.
And you can just listen to it because they have everything as audibles. So you can just hit the microphone button and it can just talk to you. So it's not using brain power to read, but you're still getting it and you might digest it better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do like the Bible recap podcast. That one's a good one. And then I always will listen on like a Monday morning, because I typically don't work out on Monday mornings. I'll typically wake up and like as I'm doing my chores and stuff, I'll listen to a sermon. So I've kind of been doing a lot of like sermons through podcasts lately. But yeah, just getting in the Word has been hard for me lately. So I'm glad that you recommended some stuff. This is turning into an advice column from you to me.
But Tiffany, I would say congratulations on starting your walk. That's amazing. And he has a lot in store for you. I would say that just finding what works for you. Like everybody's form of worship is different. It could look like quiet time in the morning or maybe in the night. It could look like going on a walk and just listening to some Christian music. It could look like
even like a prayer walk.
I was going to say like prayer. Yeah.
I love just like going without my phone, without headphones, just like talking to God.
Just, I feel like there's no set way to do it. But I think just intentionally, we talked today at church, the sermon was all about prayer, and he talked a long time about like praying intentionally and truly inviting God into the space. Like he's there, but like giving him the invitation to come in here and like do what he needs to do, and being so aware of his presence. So I think just like in the small things and the big things. Yeah. And I think that, I'm sure you've talked about this because we've talked about it in real life, but like, God, can I please get this green light? Like just like silly things like that. Or God, can you please like help me make it there on time because I'm running like way behind, or whatever it is. Like just silly things. Like he's there. So like enjoy him being there.
You know what I found in the mornings too, when I'm super stressed out and I feel like I don't have time to read my Bible, because I always at least try to like sit and journal a little bit and at least like open my Bible, and if it's just reading like one line of scripture, just like something. But the mornings where I pray like, God, can you please just like buy me more time so we could hang out really quick? For some reason, I swear the clock stops. Like I don't know what happens, but all of a sudden 5 minutes turns into 20. And I mean, he can do anything.
Yeah,
so,
for real.
You know,
just ask him to, you know, he'll do it for you.
Yeah. And so,
but it has to be an intentional ask. He's not like a vending machine.
Right. So. No, absolutely. And he's not a genie in a bottle. Like, you know, I thought it was cool today. The pastor brought up Revelation 4 and 5 and how when you're praying, you're literally walking into God's throne room, and how you're allowed to pray literally anything and everything, and the God of the entire universe, that's the one you're talking to. Like, it's kind of just like, remember who you're talking to.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not just talking to a friend about like, oh, I hope that one day I can do this big dream. You're literally talking to the God of the universe, like, who can do anything.
Like, and you should be starstruck.
Yeah.
And like, you should be just like lost for words.
Yeah.
And just like sit in his presence.
Yeah.
Because it's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. Go read Revelation 4. It's pretty cool. It's wild.
The description's amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful stuff. Anyway, great question. Congrats, Tiffany. We're excited for you. And no, like Lexie's, I feel like you're in such a good spot right now. Like you've been so like consistent with your like Bible reading, and like, you know, you do like a study with Gary, and they like talk on the phone all it's like, what'd you learn in your Bible? Like, it's really cute. Yeah. And then I'm over here like, I can't even like make my coffee. So just know that like
seasons.
Yeah. And different parts of your life, you're going to feel like you're on a roll, and then other parts you're going to feel like, dang it. And I try really hard not to feel like I'm coming to God every day with my tail between my legs, being like I messed up.
But that's the point. Like, that's how amazing he is.
Yeah.
Like,
but just because I didn't read my Bible one day doesn't mean that I'm a bad Christian.
No.
You know, like it's just.
But it's just like that's the point.
Yeah.
Like, you should repent every day.
Absolutely.
You should literally repent for everything.
Well, elaborate on that, because someone listening who doesn't know what that means, maybe explain that.
Okay. Well, repenting is just basically coming to God with your tail between your legs and just being like, I messed up and I really hope you can forgive me. And he always does. Like, that's the whole point. But also just like being so aware of truly like what's right and wrong and what the expectation is as a Christian.
Yeah.
Like, even just having bitterness towards somebody, you should repent. Like, I had to repent last night.
Anger.
Like, I really had to repent last night.
Why? What happened?
I was just so frustrated. Oh. And I mean, I was ranting to you about all these different things. And then I was like, I'm being such a little brat right now. I should not have all this like resentment and bitterness towards all these people just because I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
And so I was like, God, can you please? And it's like kind of awkward, but you know, you should be so aware of, and like, I think like the goal of that is also so that like, you know, hopefully you repented for it once, and so hopefully you remember how that felt and you don't have to do it again. Yeah. But I feel like I'm constantly repenting for bitterness. That's a big sin for me, honestly. And also just like praying for discernment. Like, I pray every night, God, please give me clarity. And obviously I know the big things right and wrong, but you know, give me that discernment in the moment not to feel bitter. Yeah. Just let it roll off my back. Be like, well, it's okay if you don't love me. God does.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's all that matters. Yeah. So go Tiffany. Woohoo.
All right. Let's see. Next question is from Sarah. She says, hey Lily, I've been listening to your podcast for about 6 months. It's been very helpful on my mental health journey. I just wanted to say thank you for being thoughtful and brave enough to share your mind with us. I'm 20 years old and I'm a college student who struggled with my weight my whole life. I can remember being disappointed by the number on the scale when I was as young as 6 or 7. I think a lot of this stems from growing up watching the women in my family obsess over weight and body, both their own and other people's. I developed an eating disorder when I was very young, spent most of my life in a toxic binge and restrict cycle, which caused my weight to fluctuate. I reached my heaviest in the summer of 2023, decided that I needed to make a change or I was never going to be happy. I knew that the root of my issue was my negative self-image and relationship with food. This sounds like me. So at the time I decided to work on my mental health. Proud to say that I've lost over 30 pounds in a healthy, sustainable way. But
go girl.
Yeah, go girl. Good for you. But the issue, however, comes from my family. A lot of my healing journey came from convincing myself that I was the only person who I had to impress and that no one cared how much I weighed or what I looked like. However, since I started seeing my family more over the summer, I can't help but feel like this isn't true. I'm lucky to have a tight-knit family and a great relationship with my aunts, cousins, and grandmother, as well as my parents and my brother. All of them have noticed my weight loss and have gone out of their way to bring it up and congratulate me. But all I can think of when they compliment me on my appearance is the fact that they've cared about my weight the entire time and noticed, and it really upsets me. My confidence increased because I convinced myself that no one else cared about how I looked, but now it seems like that's just not the case, that they've noticed my weight loss and talk about it, which means that they've noticed my weight gain in the past. When the comments first started, I figured that it would be old news, but it's been months now and I continue to receive uncomfortable comments about my weight. I brought this up to family members that I'm closer with, and they've all just gotten frustrated with me for not being able to take a compliment. My family's clearly not able to respect this boundary that I've tried to set. How do I accept that people care about my physical appearance, and how do I stop caring what they think? This is tough because first off, I think
they're multifaceted.
It's super multifaceted because obviously I think it sounds like they're trying to be supportive, but they don't realize
they're coming across the wrong way.
Yeah. It's
like middle of that when you said, I don't know what specific sentence. It sounded at first like it was coming out of a place of love, like congratulations, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But then as you continued to read, it sounded like it was like snarky comments.
Yeah.
And you and I have both faced both the sides of that.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
Yeah.
Because sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I can come up with probably examples on both hands of weird things that family or friends have said to me about my body.
Whether I felt big or was twig skinny, it's the same thing. Like, people think that it's okay to comment on people's weight when they're really skinny. It's just as bad as when they're really big.
Yeah. because you don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know what someone else is going through.
The new Apple Watch Series 10 is here. It has the biggest display ever. It's also the thinnest Apple Watch ever, making it even more comfortable on your wrist. And it's the fastest charging Apple Watch, getting you 8 hours of charge in just 15 minutes. Introducing the all-new Apple Watch Series 10, now available for the first time in glossy jet black aluminum. Compared to previous generation, iPhone XS or later required. Charge time and actual results will vary.
Oh, such a clutch off-season pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
Shop Blinds.com right now and get up to 40% off select styles. Rules and restrictions may apply.
It's just hard because, like, obviously she's super excited and she's gotten to a point that she's happy with it. But if people are ruining it for her, it just makes me sad.
I think it sounds like your family's probably coming from a place where they're trying to be supportive at first, but the underlying attitude seems like it probably is something more negative. And I've experienced this, I know you've experienced this, that comments are made, whether they're intentionally trying to be supportive or not, it still just isn't nice to comment on someone's physical appearance at all, period, because you really never know what someone's going through.
Yeah, and it's almost like when they keep bringing it up, it's like for some reason they're so hyper fixated on it that they have nothing else to like ask you about.
Yeah. And then I think too, she says this, my family's clearly not able to respect the boundary they've tried to set, so I think that the change has to come on my end. How do I accept that people care about my physical appearance, and how do I stop caring what they think? It's way easier said than done. Like, this is, I think, a lifelong thing.
Yeah.
Like, all of us are going to feel, there are times where you're going to be like, it rolls off my back so easily, and then other days where you just can't.
And sometimes it depends on like who it's coming from.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
Because you care about other people's opinions more, or specific people's opinions other than.
More than others.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, more than others. I think for you, this is where what God says about you comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Because if people are going to care about your physical appearance, like, that's on them.
Yeah.
And how do you stop caring what they think about you? I would just say focus on what God says about you. That's the only thing that's ever worked for me.
Yeah, I would say focus on what God says about you, and then also just like kind of flip the switch in your mind and just be like, everything's out of love.
Yeah.
And try to just,
even if it's not, maybe just try to convince yourself.
Just try to trick yourself. Yeah. And just be like, oh, they're coming from a place of love.
Yeah.
You know, even if it frustrates you, just like try your hardest to believe that, because you're never really going to know. And like, I mean, she said that she tried to set a boundary. So she's tried to have a conversation with them. And she talked to the family members that were closest to her. But yeah, if you see no change, just like really, you got to rely on yourself.
As hard as it is, maybe try to have some questions in your back pocket where you can just completely change the conversation.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like if you're at, I know the holidays are coming up, so you might cross paths with family members who are going to say things. And if they're like, hey, it looks like you lost a ton of weight, which is such like an uncomfortable thing to say at all, period. But if someone comes up to you and is like, hey, it looks like you lost a ton of weight, like you look really good. And you just be like, yeah, you know, I've been running a lot. Do you run?
Yeah,
you know,
or be like,
I don't know,
you know, yeah, I've been going to the gym a lot. My favorite is arms. What's your favorite workout?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just ask them a question about it.
Yeah. Or you could come up with like some, like, I guess kind of, I don't know why my brain goes here, but like some mean things to say back. Like, how's your weight loss going?
I feel like, yeah, I mean, I met my goal. Where's yours?
Yeah. like, I could give you some tips. Like, that's so mean.
That's so mean.
No, that's mean. Yeah. I don't know. I think maybe just having some questions in your back pocket where you can pivot the conversation and just be, oh, how was your trip to France or whatever?
Yeah. Like,
or literally just
totally
like,
divert.
You know what? I appreciate the support. I don't really want to dive too deep into it today.
Maybe we could talk another time and then just never talk about it again.
Yeah. And I think that we should probably normalize telling people, hey, I don't really want to talk about that right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially at like big family gatherings. I've gotten to a point where I don't mind saying to family members, I'm not talking about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, we're family. Like we can talk about anything. It's like, no, I don't talk about just anything with anybody.
Well, and also, sure, I'll talk about other things, but just not that topic.
There's no.
You are beautifully and wonderfully made.
Facts. You're beautifully and wonderfully made. And it's really hard to stop caring what other people think. I think that's like one of life's greatest challenges. But the only thing that you can do is like put up your invisible shield and just try to dodge the comments if you know that they're coming, and respectfully, gracefully take them and then pivot the conversation.
Yeah.
All right. Last question comes from Bree, and Bree says, hey Lily, I've been loving your podcast and listening to your transformation over the past year has been inspiring. Thank you. I've started to read my Bible more and grow closer with the Lord. And I even joined a small group on my college campus. I've met amazing women who inspire me to continue growing in my relationship with Jesus, and I feel very supported. However, I'm headed home for the holidays to a household that does not support my walk with God and even discourages it. My parents have made snide remarks about my faith, and I feel like I have to hide it from them. I did not grow up as a Christian. My parents had some church hurt when they grew up, so they turn up their nose at anything that has to do with God. I'm going home for Thanksgiving, and I have a pretty long winter break, so my question is, how can I continue to grow in my faith towards God in a household that wants to suppress it? Furthermore, how can I try to open the eyes of my parents, because I felt the goodness of Jesus, and I want that for them too.
Dang.
This is tough. Really tough. Because I forget exactly what Pastor Jamie said in church today, but I think he said, like, if you're walking with God, how did he phrase it? It was so good. I think I wrote it down, but he's basically like, you'll be walking the narrow path with God, and then all of a sudden you'll feel really far from him, and you're like, God, how did I get so far? And God's like, well, you took a wrong turn and you didn't even notice.
Yeah.
And it always has to do with the people who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
And it happens so fast.
Yeah. Well, I would say, as far as like keeping on track, continue to keep up the relationships with the girls and guys, I don't know, in your group.
Like, call them like every day.
Keep your community.
Yeah.
Text them, call them. Maybe before you leave school for your break, like, find an accountability partner.
Yeah.
Or maybe even the leader of the group, and just be like, hey, could we do a call like once a week, like a set call once a week? Or just make sure we text each other a lot, because like, I'm really going to need the support, and just be so open and honest. I mean, that's the point.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure they'd be happy to help you, and be happy to talk to you while you guys are separated for the holidays. And also not letting, and again, it's hard because it's family, but not letting the naysayers like knock you down.
Yeah.
Like, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus, and that's what's going to continue to encourage you.
I also think too, like, this is something that Mom always says, like, people notice a difference.
Oh yeah. They like, I want what she's having.
Yeah. And if you love Jesus, you radiate a different energy. We had coffee this morning, or yesterday morning, yesterday morning with one of our good friends, and he's just on fire for the Lord, and he's one of the most encouraging, amazing people I've ever met. And we both left that hangout and we're like, he's the best. Mm-hmm. Like, he's just so good, and you just, like, you feel closer to God when you're with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he just is overflowing with Jesus' love. And so people feel that.
Yeah.
And your parents will feel it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even if they don't want to feel it,
they'll know something shifted in you.
Yeah. And I would hate for you to hide the light.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you can't like bring it into the house.
Yeah. Dang, that's tough.
You gave me good advice 20 minutes ago about just putting in my headphones and playing the Bible app.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you could do that in the morning.
Yeah.
If you want to make your coffee and just go back to your room and shut the door and do your Bible study. You know, I think obviously you want to protect your quiet time from snide remarks or whatever. Or maybe go to a coffee shop in your town, or go for a walk. I don't know, somehow like find time to spend with God.
That's private, but not private as in like you want to hide, but private so like you and him can hang out.
Yeah, and you don't have to feel like you're getting an attitude, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. But at the same time, like you don't want to, I don't know, because then it's like, are you hiding your faith?
No,
just protecting
it. There's nothing wrong with going on a prayer walk.
Yeah.
Like you should do that.
Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with doing your Bible study in your bedroom because that's quiet. There's nothing wrong with putting in your headphones and listening while you're making breakfast. Like none of that is wrong. We do that in this house.
Yeah, we do.
And it's just the two of us.
For sure.
So no, that's not hiding your faith. But I think that if they ask you questions, you should absolutely answer them.
Honestly and truthfully.
Honest and like full force.
Yeah.
And it's not rude. It's not aggressive. Just speak the truth.
Yeah.
Speak life into them.
Yeah.
Like share the good news. That's what we're called to do.
Before you go home, pray that God will give you the right words to say to this specific person in this specific situation. Pray that God will not only change their hearts, but change yours.
Like be prepared for the hard questions.
But also you don't have to have all the answers.
No, I'm not.
I love this analogy that I heard growing up in church. And it was like, if you were to invite someone to come check out a restaurant with you, you've only been there once. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, they're not going to be like, oh, well, what's on the menu? What's the best thing? Where did the restaurant originate? Like, they're not going to drill you with all these questions about the good restaurant. They're just going to be like, all right, I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to expect you to know every menu item and all, you know, the ins and outs of the restaurant. They're just going to be like, yeah, I'll give it a go if you recommend it. Same thing could apply to going to church. Same thing could apply to a devotional book. Same thing could apply to a cool worship song that changed your perspective on something. Like, you know, especially if you're headed home for Christmas break, find a church that you align with in your area and be like, hey, I think I'm going to go to Christmas Eve service. If you guys want to come, would love for you to join.
Yeah.
And go and do it. And you might be surprised.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Christmas is all about.
Absolutely.
So if they're going to celebrate Christmas, then you should invite them to come to church with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I would just say continue to have compassion for them.
And continue extending the invitation.
Because a lot of times, we talk about this in Run Club too, to these girls. Like most of the girls in Run Club can remember a time where they were turning up their nose at invitations.
Yeah.
I was the type of person that turned up my nose at invitations. So you never know. God's always working in people's hearts, and you have no clue which time is going to hit, you know?
Yeah.
So,
and I know maybe this sounds like somewhat repetitive from what like your group leader has said, or, you know, maybe some people that are in your group and they're trying to encourage you, but I would just stick to the path, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus, and keep praying that their hearts will soften. And, you know, maybe this break for you, this, like break from school when you go home, maybe that'll be the time that everyone's interested, and you don't know if you don't extend the invitation. And, just keep praying for them.
Love it. Great advice, Lex.
Thanks.
All right, guys. So that is about it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you guys have a question or a situation or a scenario that you need advice in, please feel free to submit to the advice column. That will be linked in the show notes. If you guys want to see more from 80/20, you can follow the podcast on Instagram at 80/20pod. Thanks, Lex, for joining me today.
Thanks
You
for
dropped
having
some
me.
good advice.
Back to
Appreciate
back.
you. Back-to-back episodes.
B to B with L and L.
With L and L. That's hilarious. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. I will catch you next week. Bye.
Hi.
Hello.
Oh, no, I was talking to them.
Oh.
Yeah, we're supposed to be telling them about our podcast.
Okay, can you start again?
Yeah. Hello, we are Micah and
Sarah,
hosts of the Fortitude Podcast. You may know us from TikTok or Instagram, where we love to have fun and bring joy to people.
but we've also been through some life experiences that have tested and strengthened us as individuals and as husband and wife.
Yeah, like grief, addiction, gay husband, miscarriage.
And that's just to name a few, but we believe we are called to share about the ways our faith has pulled us through difficulty and the lessons we've learned along the way.
We're going to be answering your questions and having guests on to talk about relationships, faith, mentality, ultimately all the things in life that make up the human experience.
Because when you're in a tough season, it is so important to know that you're not alone and you are capable of making it to the other side.
You can follow and subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or anywhere you can listen to a podcast.
We love you all and hope each week you will come away encouraged, hopeful, and equipped with something that helps you grow.
Are you single and navigating the complex world of dating as a Christian? Well, I want you to know you're not alone. I'm Kate.
And I'm JJ.
And together we host the Heart of Dating podcast.
We're here to unmask the ambiguity of dating and help you build a healthy approach to find your person.
Each episode, we tackle tough questions and provide real, relatable advice you won't find anywhere else. And guess what? We hold nothing back.
Yeah, that's right. From heartbreak to hope to real life stories from our listeners, we literally cover it all, bringing you wisdom and insights and sometimes laughter that everyone needs to thrive in any relationship.
Whether you're single or you're in a relationship, you'll find community and support within the Heart of Dating podcast.
So we're inviting you to join the conversation that's changing the ways that Christians date.
Literally, if you want to make dating better, come join us. Let's do this together.
You can subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or
find us on Instagram or on YouTube, Heart of Dating, and you can visit our website to learn more at heartofdating.com.